Street Combat, released in 1993 for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System by Irem, the same folks that brought you legendary space shooter series R-Type and other such gems like Gun Force, Metal Storm, Kung Fu Master, and the Guardian Legend. And then we have Street Combat, where everybody does combat on the street. Now apparently Street Combat is a repackaged version of a Ramna 1/2, Ranma, whatever game for the Super Famicom. I honestly didn't know that. Did knowing that increase my impressions of Street Combat? No. Did knowing that increase my enjoyment of Street Combat? No. So what did I gain by learning of this information? Absolutely nothing. I just thought I mentioned it because if I didn't, somebody else would have brought it up in the comments and nobody would have cared. Yeah, I'm delaying the inevitable, aren't I? Here we go. So here's the deal. You're a young fellow named Steven, the most deadliest killer in the mullet kingdom according to the hairstylist. And you basically have to fight through 6 other dull-looking fighters in Street Combat. And you do this by beating them into submission with your wide arsenal of attacks including punches, kicks, throws, and whatever the hell this is. You also have special moves to do, and why do I bother? To call Street Combat another knockoff fighting game to cash in on the popularity of the Street Fighter II series would be akin to calling the first 2 World Wars minor skirmishes over spilled milk. This game is hideous, and it starts with control, which comprises a punch button, a kick button, a special attack button, and a jump button. Yes, another fighting game where you don't press up to jump. And while you do have a special attack button to perform a special attack, you also have an arsenal of special moves that can be performed with various button combinations such as up and punch or back and kick. Not exactly quarter circle forwards or charge moves. Truth be told, you only really need to use the special attack since it can knock down your opponent fairly easily. Trying to learn any other special moves is pointless since collision detection is almost something of a foreign concept. Suffice to say, some hits will register, others will not. And on a whole, the combat engine is so goddamn worthless that it's not even close to being larkable. It's so bad, this plays better. The jumping is bad enough with the button that you have to press, but it's also the kind of jump that would feel awkward in a side-scrolling platformer, much less a straight-up one-on-one fighting game. It's the kind of jump that feels both loose and stiff at the same time, if that makes any sense to anybody out there. It just feels really awkward and unnatural. Also, there's no character select screen. You just start a game and it's straight to the versus screen. Now, despite not having a character select screen up front, you could still switch characters to play as by holding the L and R triggers on your gamepad on the versus screen, of course, and using the D-pad to cycle through the cast of characters. Considering you can do this at any point in the game, whether it's the first match or the last match, methinks this is a cheat of some kind, or you're really supposed to be going through the game as Steven, of which there are 2 versions, one with armor and one without, but both pretty much play the same way. Lame. But you'd have no way of knowing you could switch between the 2 versions, or anybody else, unless you had the manual, which I do not. So you pick this game up loose, you play it, your brain cells turn to shit, and it's only until much later that you discover you could actually switch characters. You know which character I would like to play as, but I can't? Happy. The little midget person you beat up in the bonus rounds, takes all kinds of hits and he's still happy after all the beatings. The graphics in Street Combat suck. Pretty much. I don't know how the original Ramna game looked, but I have to believe it looked better than this. Everything has a cartoonish look to it that feels so ridiculous it's not even funny. There's something of a conflicted message or vision here, as the graphical styling seems to clash with the gritty urban atmosphere that Street Combat is trying to convey in a way that it seems that Irem was unsure as to whether this is intended to be a serious fighter, you know, for the North American monkeys that would play this crap, or just some crummy animated project for the dumb kids who might have even been smart enough to be insulted by tripe like this. Enjoy dull and conflicted mugshots seemingly inspired by stock dollar store coloring books. Marvel at the redesigned characters and their awkward poses and motions for attacks, as some of them bring shame to their families and clansmen for generations to come. Even Steven himself is doing that mullet a shameful disservice with moves like... What is that? Indulge your auditory senses with the most mind-numbing collection of ear-raping music assembled for a video game. Not long since the auditory masterpiece that is the main theme of the Atari 2600 craptacular Firefly has there been music so inane that it's been known to cause irritable bowel syndrome by association. Now, in all seriousness, the only good piece of music in Street Combat is the opening drum beat during the Irem screen, the one that I played in the beginning of this video, but as for the rest of it, it's pretty awful. There's upbeat music, and then there's upbeat your head in with a barbed wired shovel music. This is the latter. Sound effects aren't worth mentioning, they're just there, as are your stock grunts that are there for the purpose of just being there. Overall, Street Combat is pretty worthless. Plays like crap, sounds like crap, looks like crap, kinda smells like crap too. Not exactly inspiring final words, but that's really all I could come up with, seeing that most of my brain cells are presently in intensive care after playing this thing. In a sea of knockoff fighters looking to capitalize on a red-hot success, Street Combat is one that dwells deep within the lower spectrums, one filled with numerous subpar mediocre tripe such as Doomsday Warrior, Shaq Fu, and Justice League Task Force. There are plenty of fighting games on the Super Nintendo, some good, some bad, but all of them are better than Street Combat. Pass on this one.